Hey guys, I just wanted to talk about my Premier League predictions because it's the new Premier League season starts today, I believe. Bournemouth against Liverpool should be exciting. And I just want to do my predictions, so I'm going to go from. I'll do top four first. So I actually think Chelsea are going to win the Premier League this season. I think they made some great signings with João Pedro, Liam Delap. They moved on Noni Madueke. Cole Palmer's looking really good again, back to full power. I think they may struggle. Some of their defensive injuries may be a bit of a concern. They've got to sort out the Levi Colwill situation. They've also got to address the Fofana situation. He seems to be constantly injured. But I think Chelsea will do that. They've got really strengthened depth. They've moved on Okachuku, I think. Sorry, I probably butchered his name. And they've got Cucurella, who's playing really well. Reece James is back from injury. Hopefully he stays fit. This is definitely dependent on whether he stays fit. And I feel they may need a new goalkeeper other than Davinson Sanchez, although he did do well in the Club World Cup final, I think. And this is not just based on Chelsea winning the Club World Cup final. I think they've definitely shown signs of being a really strong team, but they just need to prove that more consistently. I mean, the end of last season, they were really good, I think. Really consistent, but they just need to show that throughout the whole of the season. And I feel like Maresca's now getting to grips with things, and I feel like they could definitely take first place. They got a strong midfield, Caicedo, Enzo Fernandez, Lavia, and the strikers are just João Pedro's great, I think, Delap as well. And yeah, Pedro Neto seems really thriving in Chelsea, and yeah, I'm going to go with Chelsea first, which may be a bit controversial, but that's that. Liverpool, I think they'll come second, because they've made a lot of great signings with Wirtz, Ekitike, Frimpong, Kirkes. Frimpong and Kirkes are both fantastic fullbacks. My only issue is that maybe Frimpong may be too attacking. In fact, I think he's used to playing as a right winger or right wing back for Bayer Leverkusen, and I feel they may be a bit vulnerable defensively, Liverpool, especially if they don't sign Mark Guehi. I feel Van Dijk's now prone to the odd error, and if he gets injured, they've just got no depth really. It's just Joe Gomez because they sold Kwanzaa to Bayer Leverkusen, so that could be a bit of a problem, I feel. I also don't understand why they've signed Mashidavali, I think is his name, the Georgian goalkeeper. I think he was the goalkeeper for Georgia in the Euros and he was amazing. He's their backup goalkeeper now. I don't really get that, but maybe someone will explain it to me. But yeah, I feel they've got a great midfield. If they get Isaac and Guehi, though, they should probably definitely go for the title, and they may win it because Arne Slot's been fantastic. He doesn't seem to need to take any time to get his team to gel in. So Liverpool could definitely win, but I'm going to put them second. Arsenal, I'm going to go with third. I think Gyökeres is a fantastic signing. I think Arsenal desperately needed just an out-and-out striker. He's looked great for them in pre-season. I think he's already scored a couple of times. And Havertz is still really good, I think. And they also signed Madueke, which they need to definitely sign a winger. I think they may need to sign another winger, though, because Saka, for me, he's their star boy. And if he gets injured, I feel like Arsenal fans just come to an acceptance that that's it. That's it, like their season's over, but their title runs over. And I feel that was the case last year when he got injured for a couple of months. It kind of just, Arsenal's title race kind of just faded away. But they still came second, so I think if they have no injuries, Arsenal, again, there'll be another team going for the title, but I just feel they don't have enough depth, because in the midfield they've got Zubimendi, Rice, and Odegaard, which is fantastic, one of the best trios in the Premier League. But after that, I think they've signed Norgard, the Brentford captain, or it's not whatever Norgard or Damsgaard, but they just don't seem to have enough depth in midfield, I feel. So if they get a couple of injuries like Odegaard or Saka, they could be struggling. So I think they need to make another midfield and winger signing, but after that, they've got the best defence in the league, I think, both depth-wise and starting 11-wise. And David Raya as a goalkeeper is fantastic. So I think they'll get minimum top three, Arsenal. And I think people need to give Arteta some more credit. Like 6 years ago, Arsenal fans was never ever considered they'd be competing regularly for the title and getting to the latter stages of the Champions League. Arteta's taken them to the quarterfinals against Bayern Munich, to the semi-finals against PSG last season. They even beat Real Madrid, so I think they should definitely stick with Arteta for the long run. And I think City will finish fourth. I do support City, even though they've made some great signings with Ryan Cherky, which was a bargain. Reinders, I think it was a bargain. Nori is a great signing. They all looked shined a bit at the Club World Cup, but I just feel they have too many players. They didn't get rid of enough players that they should have done. Kovacic, Gundogan should have gone in the summer. I think Gonzalez maybe going out on loan, and then they could keep Everiche as a backup midfielder, and Nipan I think is a backup midfielder as well. And then Bernardo Silva could always play in there as well. So I think they need to get rid of some of their midfielders, who I think Gundogan and Kovacic, for example, are a bit like past it. I mean, Gonzalez is young, and Everiche is very young, so I think they should go for both, like keep them, but move on some of the older players. They got rid of Walker, which is a good decision. However, they haven't addressed the right back situation yet. I think Mateus Nunes is going to be playing there for most of the season, which is just, I don't think is the right choice. I'm glad he's in first team football, but I don't think it's a good choice in the long run for City. They need a proper right back there, like how they got Aït-Nouri at left back. And they got too many centre backs as well. They got 6. They got Gvardiol, Diaz, Stones, Ake, Husanov, and Heiss. And the Husanov and Heiss, they could maybe send them on loan because they're very young. I think they're teenagers or 20-year-olds. Or 21-year-olds or 22-year-olds, but they're very young basically. But I think they should either send them on loan, or if they're not going to send them on loan and they want them to be the understudies to Diaz and Gvardiol, who should be the 2 starting centre backs, they should be selling Stones and Ake, because Stones and Ake are just constantly injured. Stones, I don't think, has played more than half a season for like 4 years now, and Ake is also constantly injured the last 2 years. So Stones also has 1 year left on his contract, so City should definitely be selling him, getting some money for him. And also, same situation with Ederson. Ederson was awful the last 2 seasons for City, I think, in my opinion. And the only person worse than him was probably Walker. And Walker's gone. But I think Ederson, I don't know if it's sentimentality or what he's done for the club, but I think Pep should move him on. Or if it's not Pep's decision, whoever's decision it is to move him on should do it. Because get a bit of money from him, 1 year left on his contract. Galatasaray interested, I think. And his shot stopping is really poor now. And he also makes a lot of errors, and he also runs out of his goal for some reason a lot and misses the ball a lot. I mean, he did it against Spurs, United, I think Juventus, PSG maybe. I think he really struggled, Ederson, and I think it's time to move him on. Thank him for what he's done, and he'll always be a club legend for what he's done, but I think they should move him on. And Trafford's a good re-signing. He's an academy player, I think. Grew up with City, I think. And it'd be great to see him start, but for some reason it seems like not only is Ederson, maybe City want Ederson to stay and be the number 1. They're talking to Donnarumma, which I think is a mistake. They should, if they want to keep Ederson that badly, he can be the backup, and Ortega can leave. But Trafford should be the number 1. Someone else should be the number 1. But anyway, I think Cherki and White will be great this season, but I just think Pep's a bit stubborn with his tactics, and I feel it may be a bit of a hit and miss kind of season, maybe a bit inconsistent. They haven't sorted out the defensive, whereas really, with Rodri injured again, I feel like defensively they'll be very vulnerable to the counter-attack still, and I don't know if Guardiola's addressed that properly yet, so I'll go actually 4th maybe for City. And 5th, I'm actually going to go Spurs. I think Thomas Frank is such a good manager. That's probably their best signing. I know Kudus is a good signing as well, and if they get Savinho and Eze, then definitely that would be fantastic, but I don't know if they're going to get those. But I think Spurs could definitely get 5th. I mean, that would be a huge improvement on their 17th from last season. But one of the things with Spurs is you just never know who's going to turn up, because of the Super Cup, they played well, beating PSG 2-0 until the last 5 minutes of the match, whatever, or last 10 minutes, and they ended up losing on penalties. And it's like they need to move on from that mentality. And if they keep Van de Ven and Romero fit, they've got a World Cup winning centre back and Van de Ven, who's one of the best young centre backs in the world. I think they should definitely get 5th. And Thomas Frank will hopefully get them in a lot more consistent form and in a much better shape. So I think 6th, I'll probably go United. I think that the tax they've got, that's fantastic. I mean, they said they couldn't afford any money, and yet they've signed Sesko for 70-something million, Cunha for 60 million, I think, and then Mbeumo for like 60 million as well. They spent nearly 200 million. And if they sign Baleba and Donnarumma, they could go top 4 in my opinion, but I don't think they'll sign both of them. So I'm going for 6th for them, and I hope Amorim kind of does better this season, because United fans seem to have very short patience, and Jim Ratcliffe seems to have very short patience with their managers nowadays. But I think they should give Amram definitely a full season at least. And then I'm going to go 7th, Nottingham Forest. They're about to make a quadruple signing, I think. James McAtee's great signing. Omari Hutchinson's amazing. They're both amazing in winning England the under 21 Euros, or is it the under 23 Euros? Anyway, winning the Euros, they were both fantastic in that, and I think they'll be great signings. They're also signing 2 other players. Can't remember their names, but that depth they've definitely got. They've also kept hold of Morgan Gibbs-White, I think, which is great. And they've kept hold of most of their players. And people saying Chris Wood probably won't be able to make 20 goals a season again. I don't see why not. I think whenever he's played in the Premier League, whatever season, he's looked like a good Premier League player, no matter how many goals he's scored. So I actually think Nottingham Forest won't have football hangover from being in the Europa League. I think they'll do all from last season. I think they'll do all right. I think they'll get European football again, 7th. I think Villa have lost Jacob Ramsey, I think, to Newcastle, and they've lost Asensio and Rashford from their loans. They haven't really signed anyone, I don't think. And I feel European football may just drag them down a little. Actually, maybe not, because they did Champions League last year. They did well this season again. But I just feel like they don't have enough to get past 8th. They haven't just done enough in the transfer window for me to put them above 8th. So I'm going to keep them 8th. But I think Unai Emery's one of the best managers in the league and the world. So people should definitely put more respect on him. Some people said that their unpopular opinion would be that he might be the first manager to be sacked, which is ridiculous, I think. So yeah, I'll put them 8th. Newcastle, I'm going to put Newcastle 9th. I don't know why people are putting Newcastle so high up. They've had a bad transfer window, I think. And if Isaac leaves, that's a lot of goals and chances gone. And they've got Champions League football, that may weigh them down as well. When last season they had Champions League football, I don't think they qualified for Europe that season, so I think they'll finish 9th this season. I also, on a side note, think it's ridiculous. Isaac's behaviour is so unprofessional. You're signed a contract, you've got 3 years left on it. I don't know why people keep saying Newcastle are in the wrong. They don't have to let Isaac go. It's not their prerogative. They could do they can keep him if they want. They've got 3 years left on his contract. I think people need to stop showing disrespect. It's ridiculous. And throwing your toys at the pram and leaking to the public like, oh, you're never going to play for Newcastle again. That's just not good for you or Newcastle. I'm not saying it's Liverpool's fault. I'm not saying it's Newcastle's fault. I think it's Isaac's fault. Unless Isaac had a conversation at the beginning of the summer to Eddie Howe saying, look, I want to leave, and they said okay, and they've now gone back on it. I don't see how this is like okay behaviour, but yeah. I mean, if he wants to join Liverpool, fine, but I think he's kind of made a very messy situation in Newcastle. But anyway, I'll put them 9th. Because Eddie Howe said their morale's a bit all over the place, but I think that it's got a bit better now just before the Premier League starts. But anyway, I'll put them all 9th for all those reasons. And 10th, I'll probably go Fulham, even though they haven't made any signings really. I think Marco Silva's one of the best managers in the league as well. And they're just always consistently very good. They've got a Werby after they've Reece Nelson, maybe, I'm not sure. Traore, I think, and Raul Jimenez is just a top Premier League footballer, a top footballer in general, so I think they'll still do quite well. And Bournemouth high on their heels. And Crystal Palace, I just don't know where to put because they could lose Eze and Guehi, so I don't know where to put them for now. But I think they'll do all right because Oliver Glasner's great. They just won the Community Shield against Liverpool. They were great in that, so I think they'll be fine this season. For relegation, I think I'll only put one of the promoted teams in there. That's Burnley, because I feel Burnley are kind of like Norwich, and they're a bit of a yo-yo team. They're too good for the Championship, but they're not good enough for the Premier League, so they keep bouncing up and down, getting promoted and relegated. And I think they've also lost their top goal scorer, I think, up front. I forgot what his name is. And I just don't think they made enough signings. I feel like they may struggle Burnley again. I just have that inkling. Whereas I think with Sunderland, they've spent nearly £170 million, I think, maybe. And they've also signed proven Premier League players alongside other decent, promising players. Like they've signed Granit Xhaka, who's Premier League proven, Arthur Masuaku, who's Premier League proven, Simon Adringa, I think that's his name, from Brighton, who's Premier League proven. I think they've made some great signings. They may need a top striker, but I think Sunderland could definitely not just survive relegation. My hot take is that they may compete for top 10. That's my hot take. But yeah, I think Sunderland will do really well this season. I may regret that, but I think they'll do really well. And I feel Brentford and Wolves are both victims of their own success. So the fact that Brentford have such good attack in the Premier League, they've lost their manager to Spurs, they've lost Mbeumo to United. They lost Tony the other year to, was it Al Hilal or someone in Saudi Arabia, and they now may lose Wissa to Newcastle, and they've also lost Norgard, I think it is, to their captain, to Arsenal, I believe. But if they lose Wissa to Newcastle, I think they could get relegated. I mean, they may prove me wrong, but I just feel losing them like nearly 50 goals and assists per season with Mbeumo and Wissa, that's a huge loss, and I don't know how they're going to get those goals back. I mean, they may prove to be like a bit of a wily team, and a bit of a fighting team and an underdog team, so maybe they will do it. And Wolves as well, they've lost so many players like Diego Jota, João Neves, João Moutinho, Pedro Neto, Matt Doherty, so many players, and you kind of feel for them. But losing Matheus Cunha to United, and if they lose Strand Larsen, I think their striker, they could be in real trouble, so they may get relegated. So I'm tipping Burnley, Wolves, and Brentford to get relegated, and Leeds to just narrowly survive, and Sunderland to do quite well. That's my hot take for Sunderland to do the surprise of the season, for them to do well. I think Hahn may get back to his top goal scorer, and I think flop of the season, that's really difficult and harsh to tell. I think maybe Frimpong. I know that's a bit of a wild pick, but I just feel like defensively he may be too attacking because he plays like a wing back or a winger for Leverkusen, and I think he may just be too attacking and maybe leave Liverpool a bit vulnerable to defence, especially if Liverpool stay a bit thin at the back. So yeah, those are my predictions for the Premier League this season. Say what your predictions are in the comments or what you think of mine, and have a good weekend.